As I understand it too here, that's right. Yes, we are going to have some sound here, an interview to listen to here as well. So let's make sure I have this right, and I do. Okay, and here is that video now playing in the center of the screen. Let's listen.
10-4, 10-4, 51-16. 10-71, right. Dispatch 51-19, 51-20, 10-74.
For 1074, no further checks.
10-4.
Bound. Partial using bound in the DN.
Joe, what are we out here doing today?
We're out here with our law enforcement partners. We're searching for Brian Laundrie. They call it Preserve. We've deployed numerous resources, and we are trying to cover every acre in this preserve.
What's it like? I mean, we've been out here a number of days. How are people feeling?
I tell you, these guys, our law enforcement partners, they're motivated and they're hungry to find Brian Laundrie. They're ambitious to partner with us. So working with them has been great, and we really appreciate the partnership that we have with them.
It's got to be rough.
It's rough out there. Yeah, it's rough out there. It's hot. It's wet.
So that was the actual raw upload there. So you saw it kind of abruptly cut away from the interview, and that was directly from YouTube via Northport Police. And Walt was saying it here while our mics were off, and I would like to share the same sentiment. For them to be providing a video update of this kind, it's very, very helpful to kind of just let people know what's going on here on the ground, because we don't have access, of course, to show you what's going on here. Let's listen in here one more time.
Our law enforcement partners, we're searching for Brian Laundrie. They call it Preserve. We've deployed numerous resources, and we are trying to cover every acre.
Signal 14 made 1025 with DCSO. They're advising that they were out with her yesterday. However, not at the address on her DL. Advised they do have a pending investigation, but they're not looking for her since they met with her. The deputy that responded to that call yesterday is not on duty today.
So working with them has been great, and we really appreciate the partnership that we have with them.
This is going to be new
There you have it. To be able to give us some insight as to what's going on deep in this search area here as we listen into some of the audio. The dogs are the superheroes. I keep saying this. Our four-legged friends here in this video are the superheroes of this story, potentially, because they can pick up on the scent of Brian Laundrie if he's here. And I'm very curious to know if they have. If there's any indication, of course, the officers here, the expertly trained officers here that work with these canines, they know to a degree if the dog is picked up on the scent. I'm just curious to know, Walt, if the scent has been picked up here at Carlton Reserve.
You know, the best explanation I ever had about a canine for their sense of smell was from an officer in Texas, and he told me, Walt, if you walked into a kitchen and someone was cooking beef stew, you smell the beef stew. The dog can smell separately the carrots, the peas, the beef, the salt, the pepper. Maybe not the salt, but you get my idea. Their sense of smell is so strong, and we do know that the search began the day after we first saw police go into Brian Laundrie's home. That would be Friday. That's also the day his parents said they hadn't seen him since Tuesday, and he was in Carlton Reserve. But you wonder, and we talked about this before, at that point, do you grab a piece of his clothing and give it to the dogs? And then we know the FBI went in there Monday, and again, then the search resumed the next day. So yeah, the sense of smell is huge, although I believe Masa Saidi had a search expert on last night on WFLA, and he said, obviously, the water does hamper what a dog can do. So it's sort of two things sort of playing against each other. But 25% land there, if we take it the opposite way, 75% water. That's about 5,000 acres of land. And we are told 80 miles of trails. So there is still a lot of land to search, even though most of the reserve is actually water.
let's get to, we're going to break down more of Josh Taylor's update here in a second. We're going to get to more. We know that there are hundreds, if not thousands by now, across all of our platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, #HeyJB, #HeyWalt comments here. We're going to rapid fire, go through as many as we can in the queue here coming up. But we went down, as I was mentioning earlier, we went down on our previous live stream. We lost internet here, and it cut off our streams to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So we've started a second live stream here, and that was happening, as I understand it, right as we were reading this. This is a letter here from the law office of Richard B. Stafford. That is the Gabby Petito and Nicole Schmidt family attorney here, and it is a strong-worded letter here for the Laundrie family attorney here. And I'm going to read this here word for word, and I'd like to get some #HeyJB, #HeyWalt comments going here as to your reaction to this, because this is an interesting note here. And again, from the law office of Richard B. Stafford, attorney at law. Mr. Bertolino, who is the Laundrie family attorney. The Petito and Schmidt family are demanding that you remove Gabby Petito's picture from your Yelp page. That webpage is www.yelp.com, and then, of course, the URL continues. The family tried to remove their daughter's picture from your page, and were informed that only the business owner can add or remove pictures. Furthermore, the Petito and Schmidt family demand that you cease and desist posting pictures of Gabby Petito to any and all of your social media pages, web pages, or advertisements in an effort to gain business. I am sure this will be taken care of by 2 p.m. Eastern, or I will take further action on behalf of Gabby's family. Sincerely, Richard Benson Stafford, Richard B. Stafford, attorney at law. So this is what we're talking about here, and shout out to Debbie on our assignment desk for printing this out for me. This is talking about the Yelp activity here. Here is a picture on Stephen Bertolino's page here, and this is a strong-worded letter from one family attorney to the other family attorney saying, we don't want you, Walt, we don't want you to profit off of the Gabby Petito story, and we don't want you to profit off of this. The exact wording again is here, remove it from all of your social media pages, web pages, or advertisements in an effort to gain business. What do you think? Strong,
and I think, as you see the beginning of that letter, you wonder if that's what they're saying, and then, of course, they come right out and say it, and that, if true, startling, shocking, all those words, it could also be possible that Mr. Bertolino just neglected to take it down, but I would ask, I would have to ask if he held a news conference. He scheduled one for yesterday, and then canceled it up in New York. I would ask him, why did you put it there in the first place? Well, here's the thing. I believe that the Yelp, and it's pretty evident here that this isn't, and I can be, please correct me if I'm wrong to my assignment desk and our team watching here, but I believe that this is from users. This is Yelp reviews that are coming in. Yelp is common for like restaurants, and if you go to a wing joint and you love the wings, you comment 5 stars and you say this is the greatest wings I've ever had in my life. But there's also Yelp reviews and Yelp feedback for businesses, non-restaurant businesses like lawyers, like attorneys' offices. And this one here is a review that reads. So I'm just going to read it directly. Just if you want to find this, and I'll throw it up here on screen. You can see some of the language there. This is some of the feedback that Stephen Bertolino, the Laundrie attorney, is getting on his Yelp page right now. And who's sending the feedback? I believe that the feedback is coming from the public. So I don't know if these pictures and these images, if there's any pictures or images on the Yelp page that was posted by the Stephen Bertolino account, but they are saying the family tried to remove their daughter's picture from your page and were informed that only the business owner can add or remove pictures. That's very similar to us. So Yelp works in a similar fashion as far as comment moderation as Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. We're the only ones here that have the authority to delete or remove comments or reviews, and we can of course moderate that content because we're the administrator on this account and on this page. It's the same for a Yelp account for an attorney, and so I think that this is just saying, hey, get these down.
otherwise we're going to take further action. And I'd be very curious to see what kind of action that would be. But I would imagine it would be a lawsuit that would be filed on behalf of the the Petito and Schmidt families against Stephen Bertolino, attorney of law in East Islip, New York.
And I believe now, do they? She owns those images, I assume, so they might have some power there to make him take it down. But you would hope that just on the request that it would be taken down.
I would really hope that Stephen Bertolino and that attorney's office would understand the sensitivity of the situation and play ball here and try to.
Or even the Laundries can reach out to him and say, "Hey, take that down."
Yeah, attorneys don't like being told by other attorneys what to do.
100%.
I think Walt, who's a senior investigator here with us at WFLA,
right? They have something that you and I have in us too. It's that determination, and yes, attorneys. That's right. They are paid to argue, and in this case, it's a lot different, I think, because it's a third party site, right? Yelp. It's sad that we even have to look into something like that right now.
It says. Cease and desist posting pictures of Gabby Petito to any and all of your social media pages, web pages, or advertisements in an effort to gain business. I'm very curious, and maybe we'll look into this here. Have Stephen Bertolino's accounts directly made any posts with Gabby's picture, or has it just been the public leaving reviews and leaving comments on pages like, on platforms like Yelp? We'll find out. We'll find out here.
Absolutely.
JB Buno, 8 on your side, senior investigator Walt Buteau here with you live. I think, Walt, we were down here for a moment, but how long do you have here with us this afternoon?
I've got plenty of time today. I'm working on a few things, but definitely could stick around, and I think it's worth sticking around for because of what's going on out there, and who knows what'll happen next.
Walt, folks, give him a follow on social media. Again, 8 on your side, senior investigator here with us at WFLA. Give him a follow, folks, on social media.
Always
Go
welcome.
find him. I've received a lot of follows on my WFLA JB and Instagram and Facebook accounts. Folks, Walt's one of the best in the biz. Give him a follow, folks, on social media. Let's get to some of the questions that are coming in here, and let's get to this one here. Shannon Owens. Yeah, this is the question, Shannon. Thank you and again, use #KJB, #KWalt, and of course, share to help. And we'll, of course, try to get as much of this live stream out to our audience here online as possible. But Shannon Owens with the question at this hour. Could this possibly be a wild goose chase? Could he run? So he could run, and oh, man. Police have enough, as we look here, at a gorgeous, beautiful, cute dog here that is part of the search efforts, and it diverted my attention there for a second. Apologies. But they have enough, Walt, to commit this amount of resources to this area, and you would think that there's more to this than we know, as Allison was noting earlier, and as you were noting earlier, that there's more that investigators know that leads them to believe that this area warrants a search of this size, scope, and magnitude. And we have a lot of resources being committed here. Aerial resources, ATVs. I'll read it here from Josh Taylor's update here a short time ago. Dive teams, boats, sonar equipment. We believe at this time that based on the size and scope of this search, that there's more that investigators know, of course, that they're not telling the public right now. The FBI leading this search effort and this criminal investigation at this time. And that would lead us to believe that this perhaps isn't a wild goose chase, to Shannon's comment.
I would also argue to some degree that when you're looking for a person of interest, a potential suspect in a homicide, are there wild goose chases? I think you search for everything. It's the one tip you don't look into that turns into the tip you should have looked into. And sometimes police departments and groups of police departments, you want to eliminate an area as much as you want to find the person. I should reverse that. You want to find the person more than you want to eliminate the area, but it's vital to eliminate the area. So I get it. Yeah, wild goose chase, it sure could be 100%, but I think that term's wrong because this is police work. They are trying to narrow down where this guy might be, and this is one spot. This is one spot we know the family sent them to. A lot of people are asking, did the family send them there to send them on a wild goose chase? Well, they've now been here 4 out of the last 5 days. During that time they've had 2 searches of that family's home. I would guess and expect they have a reason to be there. And just because they don't find somebody or something does not mean that reason wasn't worth checking out. You have to eliminate things as much as you have to validate things.
We have a lot more on this, folks, on these new developments on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We have our Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie article hub there. So if you want to read the latest here, I know that a lot of the commenters here are either listening on the road. We have some people that are joining us on the road. We also have people that are Chromecasting this to their televisions at home and listening and participating in any way, shape, or form that they can. But if you'd like to read the latest here, check out, or later on today or tonight or now, check out WFLA.com and the WFLA app where our article hub lives and all of the recent developments on this story. There again, WFLA.com and the WFLA app. So really,
JB, can I chime in for a moment? Sure. Because we're getting phone calls, believe it or not, that I have something on my forehead. I actually have a small wound on my forehead from a wrestling match with one of my sons. So it's not anything I can rub off. I apologize. I didn't. It's quite the thing to explain. My wife said, they're going to see that on TV. And I said, no, they won't, but they did. So that
goes to show how much people are watching our live streams here. Is that
it's my son's fault?
What's your son's name? Well, you don't have to share. You don't have to share that. You don't have to share that.
I'm not. You don't have to share that. There's multiple. There are multiple suspects.
Multiple suspects in the crime that is Walt Pito's forehead.
My forehead. My apologies.
Well, I think I speak for our entire audience, Walt. You don't have to apologize in the slightest. Again, true, one of the best here, folks, as far as investigative journalism here in Florida. And, of course, from his previous station, WPRI, in Rhode Island, in Providence, Rhode Island, Walt is one of the finest. And, again, give him a follow on social media. And ease up on the phone calls, folks, as far as
my forehead.
Please do. But Shannon, thanks a lot for your comment here. We're going to move on to the next comment here. Tina Davis, #HeyJB. What do you know about some girl saying that she picked up Brian? All right, this is the first time that we're addressing this. I have seen the TikTok videos. There is a woman who says that she picked up Brian in the area, of course, where closer to where Gabby Petito's remains were found. And at this time, there's nothing from law enforcement that leads us to believe that is a genuine truth. I'm not saying the story isn't true. I know that she has received a massive audience online, on TikTok especially, telling her story and explaining her story in very, very specific detail here. And I am not here to tell you that isn't true, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you it is true.
Right.
So that could be something that we learn more about, how Brian got from that area of the country back here to Florida. And I want to also point this out here one more time to our audience. And as much as I would like to take that woman for her word, let's keep this fact in mind. Brian's description is pretty common. It's pretty common, Walt. Yeah, I mean, a guy with a shaved head, and sometimes he has groomed facial hair. Sometimes he's got scruffy facial hair. Sometimes he's completely clean shaven.
You would imagine he'd be scruffy by now.
You would.
Have some hair up there.
Yeah.
23-year-old who shaves his head, it seemed. I will say this, though, and I said this yesterday, how often do we've had surveillance video of suspects or people of interest, but in this case we have a video where we hear him, we see his mannerisms, we see that we see how he walks, and all those things play into identifying something. We generally don't have that for a suspect or person of interest, and even if we have surveillance video, it's not nearly as clear as that body camera video was from in Moab, Utah, and we also, I think, have a little bit of there's a tattoo on his hand, I believe. I don't recall which hand, but all those things help. So the curious question I would have for the woman who picked this guy up, if she did, what did you do about that? Did you realize it afterwards? If it's true, at what point did you know it was him? Did you know about it afterwards? I
was on Twitter this morning, and I said that what we're going to do is we're going to separate fact from fiction on these live streams, and we remain committed to that because there's so much out there regarding this story, that it's our job as journalists here to keep you informed as to what is valid and what isn't valid. And what I'd like to do here is just remind folks that there's so much uncertainty surrounding this case. So that doesn't fall necessarily within the realm of fact or fiction. It's just in an area of unknown between fact and fiction that we just where a lot of variables live right now as far as this story. So I appreciate the question. That's the first time we've had it here as far as the TikToker who said that they picked up Brian Laundrie. And again, if we hear anything about that being a valid story or if it's disproven, we'll let you know about it. So many times have I been messaged on my WFLA JB Instagram account or my Facebook account. People are like, JB, look at this. JB, look at this. Oh my God, now they're posting this. Reddit this, Reddit that. TikTok this, TikTok that. And then like an hour later or 2 hours later, I'll just get one word and it'll be like, disregard, unproven, to let us know that like the whole online community sleuthing disproved that claim really quickly, and then it's like, okay, on to the next one, on to the next theory, or on to the next claim, or on to the next piece of internet gossip. And we're going to keep things rooted in reality, and that is our commitment here to you here from WFLA. From Stella Mami on Twitter. Hello to our Twitter audience. #HAB. Do they have a TFR today? Yes, they do have a TFR, as I understand it, and it is to 400 feet. But we could have Eagle 8 HD in the sky, and I'll ask Debbie here at the assignment desk, is there any update on whether or not we're going to have Eagle in the sky participating in the search efforts today? Still waiting for an update in that regard, and if Eagle 8 HD is in the sky over the area, we will take you live to live Eagle 8 video with, of course, our wonderful chief photographer here at the station, Paul Lamison, who is the voice of Eagle 8 HD. So yes, they do have a TFR. It's only to 400 feet. The chopper, of course, is way above 400 feet, more at an altitude of about 1,200 feet. So we do have the opportunity here, folks, to get you some new aerial search video. From Tara Maglio Jacobs on Twitter, #HJB. Is there any footage of Brian actually driving the car to the reserve? Traffic cameras or anything like that? There has to be something for them to be focusing so hard in that area other than the word of his family.
Very solid question, and just such a, I mean, again, this is such a modern case in all the visuals that are involved, and that's a great point. That could be something that they have that they're not telling us. Again, police do not tell us everything, and we understand the reason for that. And would you want Brian to know, hey, if he has access to a car, hey, a camera might catch you that way? But that's great question. We don't know the answer, but it's definitely a possibility, right?
It is a possibility, and we'll of course follow up on this style of question here, folks. Let's get to, and let's just is there any footage? Here's the thing, there's nothing to say that there wasn't footage.
Right.
A traffic camera. There could have been a traffic camera on the route from the house to the reserve here. Right. But that's not something that the police are going to put out on blast. That's not something that they're going to just share out to the public. That's something that they're going to reserve to themselves, especially with the FBI leading this investigation now. So there's nothing to say that there isn't footage. Maybe they've got a whole lot more evidence that Brian is in this area than we currently know about at this time.
No doubt about that. And I think, one example of these cameras too, by the way, is the National Park System has cameras. There's surveillance systems out there, we found out. And that's crazy to think of. Where are you putting those cameras? How obvious are they? But we also, one of the tips that somebody referenced today was the Florida Panhandle. There was a picture of a guy.
We're going to get to that. Yep.
It was a deer cam. It was a deer cam that captured a guy that, I don't know, I think he looked like Brian. I think the investigators up there pointed out they exhausted every possible connection between Laundrie and that area, that he had no friends in the area, so thus they thought he wouldn't be in there, and they did search it heavily and determined possibly that lead was not an actual sighting of Brian. But yeah, the cameras are everywhere. They're 100% everywhere right now.
Sheena Evans Cisneros, #AJB. Did anything come out, or did anything come about with the supposed sighting of Brian in Baker, Florida? Because of the supposed sighting, have they or will they put law enforcement at the Florida border? So did anything come of it? It certainly was looked into by law enforcement. Now I will share exactly my initial reaction, my gut reaction. Walt, were you on stream with me yesterday when we got in that? No, it was Josh Benson.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? Have you seen the trail cam picture? You know the one I'm talking about?
I have, yeah.
All right. Well, my gut impression yesterday was that there's very little to no resemblance to Brian Laundrie.
Really?
What was your reaction?
So I'm actually pulling it up now. I didn't stare at it for a long time. I thought there was some resemblance, but I thought he maybe had a little more hair than Brian. But Brian would have more hair right now, unless he's got a
the
Charger.
backpack being similar.
Was the backpack similar?
The backpack was said to be similar by folks online, and so they look there. Of course, that is something that police and law enforcement are going to look into. Of course,
No doubt.
law enforcement is
No doubt.
is very much aware of this story across the country, whether it's in Mobile County in Alabama that we were talking about yesterday, whether it's in the Florida Panhandle. I believe that's Okaloosa or Santa Rosa County on the Florida Panhandle. I think Baker is Okaloosa County. But of course, they looked into it, and there's nothing, as we understand it, there is zero. There's nothing credible about that image at this time that leads officers or authorities to believe that was Brian Laundrie caught on that trail camera.
And I think a spokesperson for the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office said, quote, "No one and nothing of note was found." And I know I'd read separately that they also, again, determined he had no connections to be up there. Of course, that seems a little odd, right? Because he does have a connection to this wooded area. But it does seem like a guy that is theoretically on the run. I don't know if he's just going to go to places he has connections, but in this case, they said nothing was found in that search.
Let's address our commenters joining us on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. JB Buno, 8 on your side, senior investigator Walt Buteau here with you. Hello to YouTube. That comment section is something like when Han Solo goes into what is it? Into hyperdrive, or he goes light speed. Those comments come in so quickly, so unbelievably quickly that I can't read. I see a Harrison in the comment section. I see a Shay in the comment section. Frank, Chloe. I wish you could see my screen here because it's just it's impossible. But fortunately, of course, we have digital content producer Heather Monahan, who is monitoring the comments on YouTube and is able to provide us with some of the and pluck some of the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt comments out of the YouTube comment section. And yes, we can engage our audience here on YouTube. And the perfect question for 8 on your side, senior investigator Walt Buteau to answer here from Stephanie Summers on YouTube in our YouTube comment section. Hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt. When will the affidavits for the search warrants for the Laundrie home be released?
They have 10 days. So 10 days from, I would say 10 days from Monday. If they got it on Monday, did they get it on Sunday? 10 days from Sunday. And then, of course, they can, if they want, and they can request it to be sealed. But then there's still a date, time frame for how long they can seal it. And they have to go back. And I've dealt with this before where things got sealed for a while, and it was something I wanted to see, so I had to sort of fight for it. It wasn't that hard of a fight, but I had to point out the law. You can only seal it for X amount of days, and then you can keep sealing it. A woman on Twitter, I pointed that to her. She pointed out a case where the file was sealed for 1 year, a murder case. I just don't see that happening here. So we could have it any day now, or perhaps they wait until that 10th day, because there could be. Look, you go to a judge to get a warrant, you put in that affidavit, you spell out your case.
What exactly do you think that we're going to find out when that documentation becomes public?
Well, it's a great question. Who knows? But think about the warrant we have. I have it right here.
It's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, the previous search warrant documentation that we've received.
This is from the Northport Police Department. This was a warrant. Think how vanilla this warrant is. They were first on the 14th. That would be last Tuesday. They asked to search the van. Okay. Then and then on the next day they asked to search the hard drive, the external hard drive they found in the van. Just in this one warrant, we found out all sorts of information. We found out police were worried about Gabby's mental state. We found out about that text that Gabby's mom said was she quote unquote, according to this document, odd, because it was basically supposedly from Gabby saying, talking about Stan and about how her calls were going to voicemail. And the mom pointed out it's odd because she doesn't call her grandfather Stan. So now that tightens our timeline theoretically. If Gabby didn't send that, now she's been missing for 5 days instead of 3 days. So we learned that in here. And we also learned that the probable cause they were looking for was tied to a crime, right? Even though he's a person of interest, it was tied to a crime about missing and endangered people. So that affidavit from the FBI could very well have some very interesting purported facts about the case that the FBI used to get it, but we just don't have that affidavit yet. It can definitely tell a story. Affidavits always tell a story because that's how you get one from a judge. You go to a judge, you say, this is our probable cause. This is what we know right now. We want to know more, and that's why we want to search this particular place.
Again, taking your hashtag HJB, hashtag HWalt comments and questions here in the Facebook Live comments section. I will lose sleep over this tonight if I don't correct myself, being the Star Wars nerd that I am. You go into light speed to travel in hyperspace in Star Wars. So I fumbled on that Star Wars reference there, and I cannot live with myself knowing that I botched.
But I get the image, right? The image is the white dots, right?
Yes, and that's what my comment section looks like here on YouTube, where, again, we're taking your comments here on the Gabby Petito story.
It's coming in so fast.
Yeah. Like light speed fast was, again, the reference here. Hello, YouTube. We're going to continue to take your questions and comments via YouTube and Twitter and Facebook Live. Let's stay with YouTube. From Very Clearly on YouTube, hashtag HJB. Do investigators have a timeline for when they'd call off the search for Laundrie? Can we be confident that they will keep searching until they find him? And we have a commitment here that they are committed to searching the 25,000 acres of Carlton Reserve here. That is an enormous undertaking.
It's a third the size of Tampa. Tampa's 70,000 acres. So massive. It's a third the size of Tampa.
Massive.
And the water can make it simpler in some ways and harder in others, right? Less land to search. 80 miles of trails, though. 80 miles of trails.
We're talking about an enormous search area.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to go into the hypothetical area now, if Brian Laundrie did select this area to vanish and to disappear, there's a lot of different places where he could be. But also at the same time, if you select this area to disappear, you are dealing with a lot. As far as the elements, as far as wildlife, as far as not having access to any reliable source of water or food, not being able, you're pretty much on a remote island. If you're going deep into the wilderness here of the Carlton Reserve and Myakkahatchee, it's an extremely vast area that Brian Enton on News Nation, who had flew in a chopper, and Paul Lamison, of course, noted this as well. You really are humbled by how vast and how large this area is here, part of the Tampa Bay area. When you're in the sky, just you look around, you do 360 and you look around, and it's just wilderness as far as you can see. So while the search area here is a little bit closer to homes in Venice, and it's a little bit closer to homes and communities, just the area itself is just massive and large. And again, we're talking about 25,000 acres. But a timeline for when they'd call off the search, Walt?
I just don't. I mean, we're not calling. There's no. They're not calling.
There's no timeline for that.
Do we mean from the reserve, or do we mean in general? I'm assuming the question's about the reserve.
Yeah.
I mean, you just described it. If they have any reason to believe he's out there and somehow surviving. And by the way, as you're describing how hard it is out there, how harsh it is out there, are you talking about for the search crews, or are you talking about for Brian? Because it goes both ways, doesn't it? The search crews at least have access to water, potable water. Does Brian have access to potable water? Is there a spring? There's got to be a spring somewhere that's 25,000 acres, right? Where you theoretically could drink the water, but does Brian have access to that? So is it that type of thing? We don't know this because the family hasn't talked. It'd be interesting to know. Does he have a survivalist sort of skill set? We don't know that.
And if there is a source of drinking water here in the area, isn't that something that the teams here would focus on, because if you're thinking that he's been out here for several days, if he's out here for several days, you're thinking eventually he's going to run out of water. He's going to have a source of drinking water, and that would be a logical place to start your search as far as the sources of water that are in this area that is the safe water to drink.
That's might be why they're not telling us. I'm sure somebody knows whether there's a spring or some sort of potentially potable water out there. That's something that I'm sure that's a piece of information. If I'm the police department and the FBI, I don't tell the public, right? Because you're right. That is something that you would focus on. 75% water. Is any of it drinkable? I don't know. I mean, he's been out there. If he's out there, and by the way, let's go with this. Do we know they're searching for Brian? Or do we think, could they be searching for evidence? Could they be searching for something else? Is there a tip that leads them there to be looking for something else? We assume it's for Brian, but they're probably also looking for evidence as well, or a trail of something, right? Breadcrumbs, something that leads them to him?
Something where he originally began here, realized, oops, this is bigger and more intimidating and overwhelming than I thought. I can't survive out here. I'm going to walk to the nearest town, maybe 10 or 20 miles over. Could it again, we're really getting now into the if this happened or if that happened, or could this have happened or could that have happened. But again, just staying here, we're going to try to keep the train on the tracks. But again, to Walt's point is good. If Brian does get into this area and then realizes, wow, I'm running out of food, running out of water, this isn't how I envisioned it as far as trying to just disappear and to survive out here, could he have gone to Carlton Reserve and then left the area? And is there a community nearby or a trail that he could have followed to get to another area where it's a little bit more habitable for him over an extended period of time?
Or even a friend, right? A
friend that, again, we so much that we don't know. From Rebecca M on YouTube. Hello, Rebecca. #KJB. Can his social media accounts be tracked? As we understand it, Facebook and the other social media companies, Facebook, of course, owns Instagram, and YouTube is, of course, separate from Facebook and Instagram. But others, of course, they are cooperating as much as they can, of course, with this investigation. And the FBI, they have social media companies on speed dial, so to speak, as far as being able to reach out to them and ask if the social media companies can provide anything to an ongoing FBI-led criminal investigation. So there, of course, can his accounts be tracked? Absolutely. And that all becomes, there's legal boundaries there with that, Walt, that the FBI has to navigate, of course, with the social media companies. But as I understand it, the last we heard is that there is cooperation from the social media giants to help in this regard.
Chief Garrison, I believe, said that last Thursday during his news conference. Same day, I hate to point out that he said they knew where Brian was, but he did say that they are getting cooperation from the social media folks. And we have heard tidbits. I think you referenced one on, was it which account? Was some account of his went live? There's that
right.
There
was an account that went live for, I think, less than 2 seconds, and it was an Instagram live, and people immediately began to think that. But you have to remember, folks, that there's a lot of fake accounts that are being circulated online. People just trying to have a laugh, or people trying to have a go at others. And let's keep that in. I was just pointed out here as I was talking about it from our team here at WFLA that the amount of fake online activity. Completely fabricated account activity and social media traction that is out there is staggering. The volume is staggering. So I've in the last several minutes I've been reading here. When I look this way, folks, I'm looking at the comments as they're scrolling in here across our platforms, and I've seen so many. JB, did you see this Instagram user post this, or this Reddit or TikTok user post that?
No.
And again, so much intentional misdirections that are out there on this story, and Walt was, in essence, slamming them earlier. Like, why would you do that? And people are just trying to capitalize on this, this what has become, in the estimations of many, this mystery sensation of trying to trying to find out what happened to Gabby Petito and where Brian Laundrie is.
It brings up that whole fake news that we heard over the years, and those comments are really, that's the true definition of fake news. Fake news is not deciding what to cover and what not to cover. Fake news is making stuff up. And obviously, to do that is cruel to the parents and clogs the tip lines, and it's just it's thoughtless and just shouldn't happen. But I assume we'll hear more of that. And then something that wasn't fake news that the spokesperson out of Northport, Joshua Taylor, pointed out was the read you had earlier about the self-inflicted gunshot wound to someone within a mile of this area. That is not Brian Laundrie, but that could spin out of control easily. And luckily, Josh Taylor got on top of that one. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what Walt is referencing for our audience members that have joined us in the last 20 to 30 minutes or so, this was a very, very curious development in this case, but it was also a great tactic here by Josh Taylor to get ahead of any social media misinformation being thrown out there. In the update that was sent out here at 1:03 Eastern, Josh Taylor, City of Northport, PIO and Communications Manager, wrote the following. Additionally, right now, NPPD is on the scene of a possible self-inflicted death roughly 1 mile from the environmental park. Nothing to do with this case. And that's, again, a PIO and getting ahead of any scanner traffic, making it out on social media, and just doing everything that he can to be expeditious with the delivery of information here to ensure that there isn't social media traction that turns out to be erroneous in the future. So, and also too, that part of that update here, folks, was the video that you see here scrolling in the center of your screen, which this video here just gives me Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers vibes here. It looks like they're going to war here, and they are, again, this is an ongoing search effort here with all the crews that are fanning out into Carlton Reserve here to bring the story to a resolution by tracking down Brian Laundrie, the missing person of interest, the sole missing person of interest in the death of Gabby Petito and the homicide investigation that now is Gabby Petito. I'll read also here from Joshua Taylor's update, and it reads as follows. We've received a number of questions about the underwater dive vehicles entering the Carlton. Area resources are looking at large bodies of water, including dive teams, boats, and sonar equipment. At this time, this does not mean anything has been found. It's part of the overall search process. Dive teams are on standby, and they might go in the water. We might see them, and I want to make that clear here, folks. Let's all be very smart going forward. If there's video that comes out of a dive team in the water, that doesn't mean that they found something. That means that they have perhaps an interest in this area. You can't see below the surface of the water. This water is
Yeah, there's still a police presence outside the house, someone's asking. No word from Brian's parents, those of you asking.
I'm Medina, in between Close and Fruitville, in front of Station 5, that was a Silver City, and then the bicycle.
I wonder if FBI knows something we don't know, because there are a lot of resources out there, and even more today with these dive teams, and for them to be doing all that just based on the parents' word. I wonder if they found some other way of corroborating the story that he was there. We don't know. People are asking about press conferences. The thing is, when Northport police were in charge of all this, they were very, very open with the media and accessible. The issue is now the FBI is totally in charge. So it's pretty common that the FBI puts kind of the lockdown on most communication with the media. They'll maybe put out a press release once in a while, but it's pretty rare for them to do interviews or even press conferences until something develops. Yeah, the parents are at the home. I know a lot of you are tracking the choppers over the reserve. I've seen all your tweets. I've looked at FlightAware also. And it is interesting. They seem to circle very specific areas. I'm not sure why. They were doing that last night a lot, but we do know as of the last update that they haven't found anything. So, but yeah, it is interesting to see the way that they circle. Where do I personally think Brian is? I truly have no idea. I wish I knew. So, I think our plan, someone's asking our plan for today, stay at the house a while longer. Then we're going to go out to the reserve. And unfortunately, I probably won't be able to do a live stream there because it's just, there's almost no cell phone service. I tried yesterday a few times. Tonight, of course, I'll be on News Nation starting at 6 o'clock Eastern. Thank you guys for, a lot of you have messaged me that you've found News Nation on your cable. I really appreciate that because we're a pretty new channel. So if anybody, we really are happy that you guys are finding us because we put a lot of work into these stories every day. And then tomorrow, we're going to do a special tomorrow on News Nation, a whole hour live special just on the Gabby Petito disappearance. So that's going to be really interesting. I'll have more details on that later, but I hope you guys check it out because I think we'll be able to really dive into a lot of the details. People are asking about the photo. So the wildlife cam photo from yesterday in Okaloosa County, which is about 7.5 hours from here. We don't know confirmation whether or not it was Brian, but
Story of the Heartland, Story 1, Venetian Bay Boulevard, Venetian Bay Boulevard.
Yes, I am wearing sunscreen. Actually, I may have forgotten today, but I'm going to put it on. Someone's asking how long I'm going to be here.
Charlie 27.
So we have no plans to leave. So I'll be here. Kind of going back and forth between the reserve, or if there's any developments, pretty much anywhere, I'll go for sure. I definitely want to see this through to the end. Just like you guys, I feel very committed to seeing this through to the end. I feel for Gabby's parents and just want to see a resolution to all this.
Not home. The cleaners accidentally hit the button.
Really not much going on out here. But I'll keep you guys updated all day, and then of course I'll be on News Nation tonight. So John Walsh involvement would help. John Walsh is definitely involved. He is awesome. He was on Banfield last night on News Nation right after me. He's actually nicknamed the Laundries. He calls them the Dirty Laundries. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have him on again. And he's been bringing a lot of attention to the case, which is great because they still need tips. I mean, if you go back through my Twitter, and I can retweet it today, the FBI has set up a special website where people can submit photos. They need help, especially people in Wyoming in that area near where the body was found who may have seen anything, may have seen the van or anything like that. Call the FBI or go to the website. If you want to stay anonymous, you can go look on my Twitter. I have the website. There's still some media at the house, not nearly as much as there was. A lot of people are at the reserve. I'm always kind of torn, like we have a camera in both places, so if something happens, we'll be able to get the video, but I don't know, I'm torn about when I'm at the reserve, I'm worried I'm going to miss something at the house, and when I'm at the house, I'm worried I'm going to miss something at the reserve, but you can't be in two places, so we just kind of go back and forth. It's about 30 minutes. It was easier over the weekend because the part of the reserve they were searching was on this side of Northport, So it was maybe only like a 10-minute drive, but now where they're searching is over on the Venice, Florida side, so we have to drive all the way around. So anyway. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Dispatch 178 are out.
Me too.
I just want to pick up 118. Is any 3 available in there?
Me too.
Very well doesn't look like Brian that we know anymore, right? He's 23 years old. His hair grows, I'm sure, very fast. So yeah, he could, who knows? I mean, you assume he might have cut it while he was at his parents' house, but he hasn't been there since Tuesday. So yeah, it's a great point. If you're looking for somebody, it'd be interesting to know what he looks like now or what he looked like even last Tuesday.
Might have a little bit of hair on his head. And I will say again, I didn't see resemblance in the Florida Panhandle trail camera shot, the snapshot from the trail cam there, and that night vision shot that's been shared a lot on social media. I didn't see the resemblance with Brian Laundrie, but there was more hair on his head than the person who recently shaved their head. So I do understand that there are some people out there. Again, back to the comment here from Beverly Morton, #AJB, #AWalt. Why aren't they taking the Baker, Florida deer camera picture seriously? Compare the two pics side by side, and it looks just like him, and he has the same backpack as some of the social media photos. See, this is, everybody is observing this differently. I don't see the same resemblance. I think everybody wants to see it through the lens of, yes, that's him. That's him.
It is Denver. So is that the FBI calling me? I'm going to say no. But
you're getting a call from Denver?
Yeah, but I'm going to go that it's not the FBI.
Take it. I'll take it. I'll stay here with you live. You never know what that could be. I'll stay here with you live, folks. But again, I'll continue here by just saying here that I didn't see resemblance in that photo, but there was a little bit more hair on their head. Walt, it was nothing? Nothing.
Right. And also it was pointed out by the investigators up there that he has no connections to that area And they did say they looked for it thoroughly. They looked for him thoroughly. It does go to, though, the fact that you'd think, so I have this ongoing conversation with someone on Twitter about the possibility of hiking, again, speculation, it's all we have right now to some degree, of hiking from this area up to the Appalachian Trail, which I guess theoretically, I think his point is he gets to Canada somehow.
Is that Denver again?
It is. I'm sure it's a junk call. But the point, this person says one can hike from that area and get into Georgia and Alabama, but not real quick, 20 to 25 miles per day. Sounds like somebody who knows what they're talking about, right?
You could navigate 25 miles a day in this terrain here in the center of our screen.
Right. So my point is, wouldn't you have to cross an interstate at some point to get over that area? But that's another thought. Has he gone north? But my question would be water and food. Where's he getting water and food? Is he living off the land? We don't know anything about his survivalist skill sets. I imagine if you're a survivalist, you probably could do that. I don't think I could. I know I couldn't actually.
We have a lot of comments here pertaining to this one particular thing here, and I want to see if I can bring this up here, and we will. Well, I can't necessarily show it to you here, folks, but I can reference all the comments that are coming in. We're talking here about the description here for Brian Laundrie. And one of the things that is an identifying characteristic about him, and let's share this out here, folks, and we don't have images to share here, unfortunately, because we have to credit and make sure that we have permission to share images that aren't of course obtained through the correct permissions. And Karen Sanders here, #KJB, maybe leave a description on the tattoos that on his hands. And Manda Diaz, #KJB, no need to worry about his hair, just look at his finger and hand tattoos. This could be important here, folks, and I'll describe the tattoos here in a second. But Walt, if he goes into a convenience store and he passes, and listen, there's virtually zero chance he's going to be using a credit card or a debit card. So if he goes into a convenience store and he passes along cash, there's a good chance that you're going to see, a tattoo on his hand. And so the images of the tattoo, you can find them across social media. It's on the right middle finger, and it looks like a branch with leaves on it. And he's also got another tattoo on the on this area of his hand, and I can't really get a good look as to what that tattoo is here, but let's see if I can find some more pictures here, and it's really difficult. But yes, find Brian's tattoos on social media and get a good look at them, because if you're on the lookout for Brian Laundrie, and again, we can continue to share, but I can't share those images until my superiors here tell me I have the authority to do so. But yes, the tattoos are an interesting physical characteristic.
If it's just on the right hand, you pay with your left hand, no?
You pay with your left hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't think I think of a hand. I just pay.
Right. Well, but you're not on the run. As a person of interest, right?
Now, again, we've had conversations here as to how smart Brian Laundrie is or is not.
Well, he's smart enough to have avoided police and law enforcement for going on 22 days. So that's.
So then, is he smart enough to be at a convenience store and pay with the hand that doesn't have any identifying physical characteristics, such as an obvious tattoo that is unique to his hand?
Right.
Is he that smart?
Do you just find fields, and I mean, the walk up north is filled with fields of fruit. Can you get away with it that way? Who knows?
Let's get to some more comments and questions. Walt, again, checking in on your schedule here. Yeah, I can be here for an extended period of time. You're still fine.
Yep.
Okay, guys. Walt has a lot of work to do, but he is choosing to be here with our audience here live. Give him a follow on social media here, folks. And again, Walt covers more than just the Gabby Petito story. Some really eye-opening investigations here that Walt covers here for us as far as our 8 on Your Side team here at WFLA. Let's give him a follow, folks. Facebook, you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
I am somewhere on there, but I'm not on there enough. Don't tell the bosses.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not watching.
No.
Well, let's move on. Some more questions and comments here in the Facebook Live comment section. And we have this one coming in here from Alexis Bryan. A lot of capital letters here. #AJB. Do they have evidence that he is there? What's next after this? Where will they be looking for him? Is Alexis's comment here. It's hard to read when it's all capital letters here. But yes, do they have evidence that he is there? What's next after this? Where will they be looking for him? Let's break this down one at a time. We don't know if they have evidence that he is there, but based on the amount of resources being committed here to this particular area, it's very likely, I think, that we can report, it's somewhat likely here that they have more evidence than what the public knows, and they have something that leads them to believe that Brian Laundrie's in this area. Again, they're not focusing on the entirety at this time of the entirety of the 25,000 acre reserve here in rural Sarasota County, Florida. They are focusing on one particular section of it. So something has led them here to this area. Whether it's the word of Brian Laundrie's parents, whether it's a piece of evidence, whether it's a surveillance camera or a traffic camera picking up something between the Laundrie household or between where he was known to be and where this location is that you're looking at here in the center of your screen. We don't know if there's evidence here that he is there, but we do know that there is a lot of resources being pulled in, Walt, to this one particular area. The question next is, what's next after this here, according to Alexis? What's next after this? Where do they go from here?
And where do we, how long do they stay there? It's a big area, and if the theory is that he's moving, the target is moving, right? So I don't know. Or are they trying to sort of rein it in a way? And I don't know if we've heard the term. I think we were told it wasn't a grid search at some point. Is it a grid search now? As in you set up a grid, you eliminate this area, and you eventually square it down to where someone might be. Good question. They're not telling us that yet. So we're waiting for some of those answers, just like you folks are.
And to the final question, Alexis, and Alexis has a lot of little ones there in her profile picture. Thanks for your comment, Alexis. Where will they be looking for him? They're going to be looking for him wherever they have information that he could be. And all the numerous reported possible sightings out there in places like Jacksonville, places like, I have a comment coming in here, and we'll throw this comment up here on screen from Tammy Goss Howard. #AJB was told that he might have been seen in Gulf Shores, the Orange Beach area. That is, of course, Baldwin County, Alabama. I know because these are some of my favorite beaches in the country, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Police were told about a possible sighting there. There's with somebody who looks like Brian, as far as just having a very common appearance, you're going to have just tons of erroneous sightings across the country. And this is, of course, a challenging obstacle for law enforcement across the country, Walt.
Yeah, and I think they also, though, again, back to what they're not telling us, they're able to sort of contrast and compare that to what they know, which theoretically, and I would have to even say hopefully, is more than we know, right? We hope they know more than we know because we want this to come to a conclusion to figure out exactly what happened to Gabby Petito.
We have a comment coming in here from Brittany. I can't animate it on screen because it doesn't have our hashtag, but she was commenting about the hair conversation we were having earlier, and she says, I'm a barber. The average man gets a haircut every 4 to 6 weeks, and it typically grows 1/4 of an inch in that amount of time. So if his
how long of a period of time?
4 to 6 weeks. About, again, Brittany saying here,
only
Brittany saying she's a barber. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like only 1/4 inch. My hair grows 1/4 of an inch an hour.
It's great insight, though, right?
Yeah, and so Brittany had a lot of likes on that comment. I can't animate it on screen, didn't have the hashtag, but Brittany, I appreciate the insight there. That's good to know. Again, I'm the worst person to ask because of the DNA, my family, and the way that my hair grows, but there's going to be potential sightings here, folks, around the country. But again, put on your detective hat and remember here that with as common of a description that we're dealing with here with this case, there's going to be many, many erroneous sightings. Not to say we have to be on high alert. I say this and people are like, JB, that's not the right message to be sending right now because then people are going to, disregard any possible sighting. Oh, I get that. But also too,
I don't think that's true. I think people still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. We have to be on alert.
everyone's got to be on alert. Everyone's got to be on the lookout. And if there's something that looks like Brian, we have to, if you see something, say something. That saying applies to this. And we have to be mindful of these tips. In so many cases in the past, Walt, have generated leads that lead to arrests. So we're not talking about an arrest in this case at this time based on what we know, because he's a person of interest and he's a missing person. And again, people are still very frustrated about that he is a person of interest and not a suspect at this time.
It's a fine line. And someone might argue it's a fine, thick line because there's a difference. But, it is, if you're a person of interest, the description of that is still that they think there's a possibility you were involved in a crime. So you are very close to a suspect. They just don't quite have the evidence. They're missing 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of a puzzle. That's why we have search warrants, and that's why we have people analyzing evidence. And so, yeah, he's still a person of interest, but he's a person of interest in a homicide. That's accurate to say, correct? He's no longer a person of interest in a missing person case or an endangered person case. He's a person of interest in a homicide, which
and again, they're calling it an FBI-led criminal investigation. I mean, let's not forget how they're now phrasing it here as well. I want to reference here that that there was a poll component here earlier on a that we had put out to people asking where do you think Brian Laundrie is. We were just trying to get a sense as to. Let me explain that. I was trying to get a sense because I have been inundated with comments and private messages, DMs on my WFLA JB and WFLA Facebook account, and I spent a lot of last night literally answering as many as I could before I was starting to doze off and fall asleep. So Brian's here, Brian's there. There's no way Brian's at Carlton Reserve. There's no way Brian's in the country. There's no way Brian's in Florida. He's here. He's there. He's in this spot. And people just, of course, they have no evidence to make that claim.
I would say there's no way that they know there's no way. Then nobody knows where he is, right?
Perfect way to put it. There's no way to know that there's no way.
Yeah. And again, I think we said this earlier. It's been a while. It's important to point out. Police departments, reporters, lawyers, a lot of us, we eliminate possibilities in order to get to the truth. And in this case, you could call this a goose hunt, but they are out there working hard in the heat, as Allison pointed out, and potentially either finding evidence or eliminating a possibility, a very big possibility that his parents say is a place that he likes to go. So it's an important search, even if they find nothing. It's still important to the case.
And a slightly more famous JB once said, "Never say never." And I don't know if Walt's going to get that reference, but
I get it.
Okay, you're hip. You're cool. As of like 2013, Walt's cool, guys. But back to the poll here. We asked, and we got 7,000 votes in that poll. Where do you think Brian Laundrie is? And 57% of our poll respondents believe that let's put it this way, elsewhere in the U.S. And the least popular option in that poll, just again, this was just more of a temperature check on our social media audience. This was not done scientifically or with particular purpose. I was just curious because of all the comments that I've been receiving here overnight, so I don't want anyone to think that it was something that it wasn't as far as this question that we asked, as far as where do you think Brian is. But 57% said elsewhere in the U.S. Only 13% of our poll respondents believe he's at Carlton Reserve. Now, this is so worthless of a poll, and I have to say that in this way, in that the FBI could have way more information and perhaps do have more information that leads them to believe that he is at Carlton Reserve, but it just speaks to, again, the viewers are part of this story. You, wherever you're watching from, you are part of this story. As far as we value what you have to say and what you think here in this story. And we bring in questions, and we bring in comments, and we bring in inquiries, and we do these hashtag-based sessions here because you help us carry the conversation forward. Social media can be used for good. It's not just for, misinformation out there. It can be used for good, credible information and sorting out fact from fiction. And it's just interesting to note here that so few of our audience members believe that Brian Laundrie is in Carlton Reserve here. But again, that doesn't speak to likely the evidence that the FBI and the evidence that the Northport Police Department currently has with them that leads them to believe that this area is worth a search of this magnitude, as far as bringing in the dive team, sonar, choppers, drones, ATVs, dogs, you name it. speaking of the dogs, by the way, I think we have it on WFLA.com. In Josh Taylor's update that he sent out, Walt, for any dog people that are out there, he attached some photos of some canines. Just still photos, really high res, beautiful photos of these dogs.
Did you see the poodle? It appeared to be a poodle. That one picture did not have the view of the typical search dog. I know the poodle is one of the smarter animals out there, but I don't think I've ever seen a poodle as a search dog.
It seemed several, and I don't know the exact breed, but there are several different breeds of dog here that are being brought in. Speaks to the how much thought has gone into the search process here, as far as trying to bring in as many resources as possible. Because, and I'm not an expert in canines, but perhaps one dog might be able to pick up a particular type of scent, or maybe than a different dog or different breed of dog.
They're trained, they're and some are cross-trained, but there's the cadaver dog. And then there, of course, there's the drug sniffing dog. There's the bloodhound. But yeah, they all have their skills, and they all, when you do stories on the officers that train them, they all think they're playing. They all think it's a game, and so they are happy to be out there, I'm sure, because otherwise they are sitting around waiting for their next assignment. And they I'm sure have a time frame for how long they can work in the heat on a day like today.
Let's get to some more #HJB comments here. I think we're going to go another 10 to 15 minutes before we have to take a break here, folks. We can only talk for so long, commercial-free, Walt and myself here. As much as I've been talking now for pretty much a week straight, and I go home and I listen to, as they call it, the sound of silence at home. Of course I talk to my wife.
Is that another musical reference?
It's another
is the sound of silence? Sound of silence a little older. Yeah, that might be before your time.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit before my time. But I do give my voice a rest, because my voice was shot this weekend, and my voice has begun to improve as I've drank a lot of tea and hot soup, and there have been so many kind comments. And thank you for all the kind comments that I've been receiving, as far as JB, go home, rest your vocal cords, drink tea, and all the different types of tea that you can put in your throat to help restore your vocal cords. And I really appreciate that. It clearly has worked. So a heartfelt thank you for all the commenters that messaged me that. But yeah, still around the clock here, we're monitoring developments here on this story, and as much as we've been talking here nonstop, we do have to take a break every now and again. So we are going to be taking a break here in a little while. But let's, again, last call, or not last call, but almost the last call for your hashtag.
It's the last
call.
Hey,
JB. Last call, like at the bar at night where they say, we got to clean up the bar, last call for any drinks. Kind of like that. We're getting closer to that territory here.
Without the drinks.
Without the cocktails. Yeah. Without the cocktails, the beers, or the glasses of wine. Let's get to Alicia Rich Beckham. This one's, I'm going to let Walt take this one. Hashtag, hey, Walt, can authorities make his family do a lie detector test?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't believe they can.
You have the right to remain silent.
You want to. Right, you have the right to. Yes, so sure, you could do that, and they could just keep. I don't even know if you can make them physically do that. I think they have to. Every time I've covered that, you have to voluntarily do that, and even in this case, they have the right to remain silent. They can do that all day and not say a word. So no, and then you wonder what could they possibly find out. We've gotten a lot of questions about can they charge the family? Well, we don't know there's a crime. The answer, though, they could charge the family. Yes, absolutely. But with what? And those are things again, one of the many things we're waiting for right now. We have nobody charged. We know there's a homicide, but again, Brian Laundrie is a person of interest, which means they think he could be connected to a crime. They have not said which crime, though. Anything can happen. These things can change. We think we know how this is going to play out, but we do not know how it's going to play out.
Chelsea here, hashtag, hey, Walt, specifically for you, how long do you think it'll be before they find him? See how I dodged this question? It's all you.
I'm going to reference I believe in this possibility. I know the FBI has used psychics in the past. I had a psychic reach out to me on Facebook. You heard it here first. And she said, as of yesterday, she said, this is her prediction, not mine, attributing it to this particular woman who said she's been involved with these cases before. She said 28 days. She gave me an exact day.
The movie?
28 days. No, she said he will be found alive in 28 days near water. Take that for what it's worth. That is about 28 days from now is about the 18th, I believe, of next month. If it happens on that day, it's a Monday. I marked my calendar because stranger things have happened, but I have no idea. How long do I think? I don't think it'll be 28 days.
I know. Hold on. We gotta go back to that. You're saying so. You're saying that the FBI. You've worked on stories where the FBI has had communication with psychics.
We know that. Yeah, we know that, and and police agencies have used psychics. They don't necessarily like to talk about it, but absolutely. Are they using one now? We don't know.
Maybe when there's an investigation where there's just so little of hope. Is that what we're getting at here as far as an investigation? And I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about just in general. Like, is there just they have exhausted all options that they say, let's just see what a psychic has to say. Is that kind of what you're getting at there?
Yeah, I think yes, absolutely. We know what's happened. It's just a matter of, I'm not saying it happened in this case. I'm simply saying that question is impossible for me to answer, so I attributed it to somebody who got in touch with me on Facebook who gave me a time frame. I will say I don't believe that's it. I don't believe it'll take that long, but anything can happen. Anything can happen. We talk about how this
28 days from when?
From yesterday.
I'm going to set an iPhone reminder.
It's the 18th. I already checked.
And then if that's right, you need to give me the psychic's phone number so that I can play the lottery.
I'll have an exclusive.
Okay.
I don't know if she can give us that, but she also claimed that he would be found alive. But again, that's just it is what it is, right? We've done those stories before with psychics about crime cases. We've seen it on TV, obviously, as well. It's a little, but some of those things are based on reality. Psychics have been used for cases. Would they use one already here? I'm going to have to go with no. But I'll also say this: we think we can find this guy by, because we think just because we're looking at this case so closely that everybody's looking at this case closely. Let's be real. There are people who don't know who Brian Laundrie is right now. They're not everybody's following this. So you could theoretically, with some luck and some skill, slip through this dragnet and get out of the country. There's no doubt that could happen.
I'll just say that to answer Chelsea's question here, I have no idea how long I think it'll be before they find him, but I am holding on to all the hope in the world that exists through the strength of our commenters, some of whom have sent me really kind comments of hope and positive thinking to my WFLAJB Instagram and Facebook accounts, and I've read a lot of them. And folks, I have read a lot of those direct messages that I haven't been able to respond to yet, just because there have been so many, and people have been really, really kind with their comments. I don't want them to think that I left them on red, as they call it, but I'd like to think that with the positive energy that is coming from a lot of our viewers here in WFLA now, through the strength of them, I am hopeful that they are going to find him soon.
Real quick note on Facebook Messenger, someone from Australia,
okay.
And he starts it. I'm not making this up, but this is how you would start it if you wanted to write it, right? Hey mate, in regards to underwater sonar capabilities, the latest sonar, and I don't know that he has any expertise. Don't blame the messenger. In regards to sonar capabilities, the latest sonar has 3D imaging for the bottom and side of waterways, which detect anomalies on the bottom, which they flag with buoys and then send the dive team in. I think that's some solid insight right there.
So it maps the bottom of the
so they're not swimming blind. They're not diving blind. They're going in with some knowledge. And we do know from Allison Henning that they have a sonar out there. So that theoretically, from this individual, would be how they would be using the sonar. So the sonar can spot something, an anomaly. So they probably know what a rock looks like, what a stick looks like. But they spot something unusual, an anomaly, and they go in and look for it. Interesting.
Elizabeth Parker was commenting earlier on our conversation about surviving the elements and says #AJB, great point. Just because he's a hiker doesn't mean he knows how to survive in the elements. So we were talking about this earlier, the chance of Brian potentially going to this, Walt brought this up, chance of him going to this area and maybe being here for some time and thinking that this is going to be the best area for me to be to go off the grid, and then realizing that this is way more intimidating, overwhelming, and treacherous than he originally feared, and then left the area on foot and went to someplace else. I mean, that's you can be a hiker and you can feel really confident about tackling the elements and tackling a particular area like this, and then you get out there and you're like, no, get me out of here. And then, of course, retreat, so to speak, and go to a different place. So a lot of our commenters have asked about that. I want to also address here some commenters here that didn't use the hashtag HJB. We have all been talking about here the scenario A. Scenario A is as follows: that Brian is found, and he's found alive. We haven't really talked all that much about scenario B, which is that he is found deceased.
Right.
And we are aware of that. We are very much aware of that. And there is a chance that due to the of course the tragedy that has occurred here with Gabby's death, we are fully aware that this is a story that could end with not just one person deceased, but another person deceased. And we have talked about what Brian's mental state could be like at this time, and the long drive back from. I know that I do a lot of my critical thinking while on the road, and just the long trip back. From Northwest Wyoming all the way down here to Florida in Gabby's van, and how that might have taken a toll on him mentally, and how the increased media coverage here could have taken a toll on him mentally, and people are like, probably thinking right now, oh, JB, don't feel, that's if he is, of course, guilty of something terrible, then yeah, you would hope that it would weigh on his conscience. However, we understand that there is a scenario at play here where Brian's mental state leads him to do something dangerous to himself and try to harm himself. And we are aware, and believe me, the authorities that are out here are aware that this isn't necessarily just them looking for someone that could be alive. This is also them searching for somebody that could be deceased. And again, if you're just joining us here, folks, they found someone deceased not too far away from the area that you're looking at here.
Weird coincidence.
But it was a very bizarre coincidence, and it had nothing to do. Josh Taylor saying it was a self-inflicted death, and it had nothing to do with this case, which is a very curious, just a curious discovery here, that they did find that somebody that came to this area a mile away from the environmental park and took their own life, based on, again, what Josh is saying here at this time, and it wasn't Brian Laundrie. So we are aware of the scenario where Brian is found here and he is no longer alive, and we are aware of that. But at this time, we have no evidence to believe that Brian is deceased. So right now, Brian is a missing person and a person of interest in a homicide investigation, an FBI-led criminal investigation out of Northwest Wyoming.
Two thoughts on what you said. First of all, the thought about Brian and his long trip back. I will say this: I know nothing about Brian Laundrie. He is an innocent man right now. He's not guilty. He's a person of interest. But I will point out, reflecting on, I say this to people a lot when they wring their hands about any horrible crime, and they say, how can somebody do that? Well, you know what? You're thinking, JB, with the mind of someone who probably more than likely, okay, let's go with definitely would not do that. You would not do this, right? I believe I would not do this either. But the mind of someone who would do that, I don't know if sometimes there is no conscience. Sometimes there is no thought process. Sometimes it's, there's so many elements that go into that. The drive back home might have been just about self-preservation, and his mindset right now might be about self-preservation. And as far as finding him alive or dead, I mean, that's something that I would assume these officers are prepared to do, and because they want to sort of bring an end to this part of the investigation. But we can't, when we try to read the mind of someone potentially accused of any crime like this, I think we're reading it with our own mind and not thinking about what their mindset is.
The time is now 2:30 Eastern, and why is that an interesting time in the day? Because it's half an hour past the deadline between the two attorneys. One more time, if you're just joining us here, you're just logging on, or you missed the beginning of our live stream here. The Petito and Schmidt family attorney, the law office of Richard B. Stafford, attorney at law, sent a strong-worded letter to the Laundrie attorney, Stephen Bertolino, the Laundrie family attorney, Stephen Bertolino in East Islip, New York. And I'll read it again here, and I'll read it a little bit faster here. Mr. Bertolino, the Petito and Schmidt family are demanding that you remove Gabby Petito's picture from your Yelp page. That web page is, URL here. The family tried to remove the daughter's picture from your page and were informed that only the business owner can add or remove pictures. Furthermore, the Petito and Schmidt family demand that you cease and desist posting pictures of Gabby Petito to any and all social media pages, web pages, or advertisements in an effort to gain business. I am sure this will be taken care of by 2 p.m. Eastern, or I will take further action on behalf of Gabby's family. We're half an hour past the deadline, so I'm very curious to know if, and again, we were talking earlier about how attorneys don't respond well to being told what to do, especially by other attorneys. And so I'm very curious to see if Stephen Bertolino's office actually followed through or replied in any way or took action as far as removing any pictures from their Yelp or social media accounts as to Gabby's picture, because the Petito and Schmidt family don't want the Laundrie family, or not the Laundrie family, but Laundrie's attorney, Stephen Bertolino, profiting in any way from the exposure that they are receiving here on this story.
So do we know if he took it down? Is it still up?
All right, let's do it live.
Well, real quick, while you look that up, again, Facebook Messenger, someone said this to me. Good question, by the way. I think I had thought this and just not reflected on it. But so we know that the family said on Friday that Brian had gone to the reserve on Tuesday, and then they said they brought his car home from the reserve on Wednesday, and then we watched as it was the car was confiscated, the Mustang, but they didn't report him as missing until Friday. Yellow flag, this person asks, and that's an interesting point, right? Why should the parents have somehow said, "Hey, Northport Police, Brian left. He left for the reserve." They definitely didn't have a legal obligation to tell police that, but should have they told police that? Question we can think about.
I have brought up Stephen Bertolino. Again, that's the Laundrie family attorney. I brought up Stephen Bertolino's Yelp page. It has a flag on it, an alert on it, and it reads as, "This business is being monitored by Yelp's support team for content related to media reports." So this has reached Yelp headquarters. They're aware of what's going on with the Yelp page. And at this time, there is still a photo there that was posted by a user in response to Yelp. Again, Yelp is an area where it's very common for you to leave reviews for a restaurant, a business, like an attorney. So this was posted by a user. And again, only the user can remove Yelp activity. So right now there is still this photo and this Yelp review. I want to make sure I have this right. This is the same one. It looks something like this. And it's still up at this time, and I'm very curious to see if the Stafford attorney, the attorney for the Petito and Schmidt families, if they, if they are satisfied with any of the takedowns or any of the action that has occurred here as far as Stephen Bertolino's Yelp account here. So we'll stay focused on that here as well, as far as some interesting interesting back and forth here between the attorneys representing each of the families here. Get some more of your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt comments before we have to wrap up here. And again, let me make this clear. We are approaching a portion here where we're going to take a break, give our vocal cords a bit of a rest. We've been live now for several hours without a break, really, other than the break when our internet went down briefly. But so it's been nonstop, commercial-free, uninterrupted coverage here on WFLA Now, on WFLA's app, and WFLA.com, and our social media platforms. We have to take a break here at some point. But let me make this clear. If there's a breaking development, we are on standby here. If something is found, if we learn something new, if there's something pertaining to the autopsy and a preliminary cause of death being revealed, any of these developments, we're back, we're live. But right now, the search is ongoing, and we haven't had any new information come in about the last, I would say, 45 minutes to an hour now. So we do have to take a break. We can't just be, we're not robots. We can't be live for you indefinitely, but we're going to do our very best here to be on standby and be live at the drop of the hat. Just like when we got word that it was, we were live within 11 minutes of learning of the news that Gabby Petito's death was ruled a homicide. So within about 15 minutes, we can be live across every meaningful social media platform on the planet, and we will do so, and we'll stay with you live. So sign up for alerts, whatever social media platform that you're watching on. You can of course subscribe to live alerts so that when we go live, you know about it, and that's a good way because we are going to have to step away here in probably
JB, quick, and I'm going to look it up for it, but quick housekeeping measure here. Someone said Brian Enton did post a reply from Bertolino. I'm going to look it up.
Oh, let's look it up. Brian Enton, who for News Nation, here I'm watching Brian Enton on News Nation. He's doing a phenomenal job as far as his reporting for our network here at Nexstar Nation, News Nation and News Nation Now. I can read it. I have it right here. May I?
Yeah, do it, please.
Brian Enton tweeting out here 30 minutes ago, right around 2 o'clock Eastern, that the Laundrie attorney, Stephen Bertolino, has responded to the cease and desist warning, if you will, or the cease and desist demand by the law office of Richard B. Stafford, who's representing the Petito and Schmidt families pertaining to the Yelp account activity. And Laundrie's attorney, the Laundrie family attorney, Stephen Bertolino, responded as follows. "This is sad. I've never used social media or any other electronic platform for advertising other than maintaining a website. I do not control the internet sites nor the hacks and public that have been overrunning the internet with fake comments and posts. Yesterday, Yelp had shut down its page for my firm due to inordinate and unconfirmed posts. I would certainly agree with Mr. Stafford that any such post he is referring to should be removed, but advise him that I do not have control over that Yelp site." Which is, to sum it up, what Stephen Bertolino's office is saying is here, I didn't post anything. It's users posting things to my Yelp account.
I wondered that, yeah, no doubt.
And we talked about that earlier, and Yelp is clearly involved here because they have flagged the account here and are monitoring it very closely as far as the activity.
Almost like a harassment in a way, right? Look at this guy.
An online harassment.
Unfair criticism, I'm going to tell you, because, even the worst individual in the world gets a lawyer.
Yep.
We're not saying that's Brian's a person of interest, but everybody gets a lawyer. That's why America's justice system is considered better than many. So,
a few more questions and comments here in the queue here. This one's got Walt Buteau written all over it. Patty Hambrick, #AJB. Who pays for the manhunt? Can his parents be held accountable for if they have been lying? So let's break down these two here. First and foremost, the one that I said has you written all over it is, who pays for this manhunt that you're looking at here in the center of your screen at Carlton Reserve?
Me, JB, and everyone else. Taxpayers are paying for the manhunt. And that's why we pay taxes, right? And so, yeah, we're paying for that. Can the parents be held accountable? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, I think we're talking about restitution, but I don't think, I think in certain nuisance calls, somebody can be made to pay restitution, but in something like this, I would say no. I would say no, that they would not have to pay for it. That is a educated guess that I'm 99.9% sure of, I've never heard of that happening where relatives charged as accessories or anything, which they have not been. I just don't see that happening. But solid question, and in a question about fairness, right?
We all have the same rights.
Right.
I might not like it. Walt and I were talking off stream. We live in the United States of America. We live in a democracy where we all have rights. We are all underneath the U.S. Constitution as far as the law of the land here in the United States. If this was a dictatorship or if this was a communist country, I think that things could have been potentially a little bit different as to how a situation like this is handled as far as your rights and your rights as an American or your rights as a citizen of that country. But But yeah, we're all bound by the U.S. Constitution and the law of the land here, folks. It's what makes us as great of a country as we live in. Fran here. I'm bringing up this comment here because we know that this comment is so common. And so Fran speaks for many. And this is her opinion, Fran's opinion, but I want to address it. #AJB. He's not there. It's a diversion.
Okay, well, you know what?
To give him time to go deeper into hiding.
Okay, call it off. Call it off. Even if he's not there, again, even if he's not there, there could be evidence there, and again, they have to eliminate it. Obviously, this is a theory, he's not there. Could be a diversion, but again, it has to be eliminated. That's just how police works.
And we, again, have no evidence here to suggest that he's not here, and we don't have too much evidence that we know about at this time to suggest that he is here. We just know that they are at this time, it doesn't seem like they're sparing any expense to search through the Carlton Reserve near Venice, Florida, the 25,000-acre plot of land here that is vast, swampy, and quite frankly, terrifying.
Yes.
Because any moment you could step and you have a snake on your ankle or a gator chomping on your knee, at any moment here you could have sure footing underneath your foot, and then all of a sudden you're stepping in a 3-foot hole of water, and you might step on something that you really don't want to step on. Yes, we know that there are comments out there that people are theorizing and people that are saying and claiming, and there's no evidence behind this claim, but saying that that the Laundrie parents are doing everything that they can to protect him, and that this was deliberate and designed to throw off the scent, so to speak, of Brian Laundrie and to give his son the opportunity to get away. And we know that there have been experts and analysts and guests on network television talking about this, as far as the likelihood that this was to give their son a head start. We are aware of that, but we're going to stay rooted in reality based on what we know at this time. But we are very well aware that Fran's comment is duplicated hundreds, if not thousands of times online in our comment section.
I just got one on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing, though. If you're thinking that, police officers are human as well. They're thinking it as well. The FBI's thinking it as well. We don't know whether or not they've looked into that. And how would you prove it? You'd prove it with messages. You'd prove it with this. You'd prove it with writings. Maybe that's something that one reason they searched the house. So I think that, I don't know, that we're a little early in the process, believe it or not, even though it seems like it's been going on for forever. We're early in the process to start talking about charging the family at this point, I think.
Gabby Culpepper, #AJB. Shout outs for the courageousness for all the enforcements out there, and shout out to all of you working the reports in the news. Prayers for safety to everyone out there.
Thanks,
I echo this sentiment, and thank you, Gabby. A big shout out to our local law enforcement and the FBI that is actively here searching Carlton Reserve near Venice, Florida. Walt, before we sign off, anything you're going to be monitoring here in the hours ahead?
I think that is our ground zero right there, right? I think I'll be watching Allison Henning to see what she tweets and what she's covering out there. Brian Enton as well, who works for Nexstar News Nation. I think that's the key. And I think, Northport Police have done a nice job of getting the information out there for what they're finding and what they're looking for. So that's what I'll be watching. And I have a few tips here that I'll be following up on as well, including, I won't say what they are because I don't know if they even have any grounds in reality, but I think there's some things I've heard more than once about how Brian got back to Florida that I want to take a deeper look at.
And I'll be, of course, monitoring your social media comments. You can follow me at WFLAJB. I made a post on Instagram, on my WFLAJB Instagram account. We can't really go live in this capacity on Instagram. It's not really how Instagram works. We can't go live like this on Instagram. So I wanted to give our Instagram audience or Instagram potential viewership a voice there. So if you want to have some of your Instagram comments felt, or if that's your social media platform of choice, you can find me on WFLAJB on Instagram and comment on my most recent post, and I'll try to work that in here to our live coverage here on WFLA Now. And let's, again, make this very, very clear here. We are live within moments if there is a development. We're going to end the Facebook live stream. I think we're going to end our stream in a couple of other places. We're going to stay live on YouTube. YouTube folks, we're going to stay live because it takes a longer amount of time to build an audience on YouTube. So we're going to stay here live with you and play back some of the moments here from our coverage here. So the upcoming coverage on YouTube is going to be some previously recorded content, and that's just in an effort that we can maintain a live signal here for you from WFLA in the event that there is breaking news. We could have breaking news in 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 days. We don't know. And so we want to stay here with you live on WFLA Now in some places so that we can reach you more quickly and more hastily as possible, or as quickly as possible is what I'm trying to say. So for some of our audience here, we're going to be ending our live stream, and others we're going to be staying with you live. It just depends on the social media platform. But as far as platforms go, the one you really need to be monitoring is WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Our WFLA Now live coverage lives here. It comes from our site and it goes out to our social media platforms. But I'm talking about all of the articles that we didn't have time to reference here on this stream. Our extremely hardworking and talented, award-winning WFLA News Channel 8 team here in Tampa is writing articles nonstop with all of the latest that we have here on this story. Timelines, search warrant documentation, all of it lives on WFLA.com. So if you're looking to read the latest and if you want it in the palm of your hand, you can go to WFLA.com, or you can download the WFLA app and you can sign up for push alerts, and that also includes, yes, our live streams here on WFLA Now. So the moment that we go live, you know about it through a push alert from the WFLA app. So we'll be stepping away here to give our vocal cords a bit of a break. I'd like to thank all of our audience joining us across our social media platforms. Apologies for all the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt, hashtag HeyAllison comments that we were unable to get to. We know that the list is long. We're trying to get to as many of your comments here as possible, and we'll have more live coverage. We're not going anywhere, as we're just stepping away from the microphones for now, but we'll have more live coverage as developments occur. And again, the Gabby Petito story and the search for Brian Laundrie.
Female is conscious at this time. Either way, providing blurry vision.
A 22-year-old woman goes on a cross-country van trip with her fiancé, but then he returns alone. Where is Gabby Petito? And now her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, is missing as well.
Gabrielle Petito was documenting her cross-country adventure with her 23-year-old fiancé, Brian Laundrie.
Gabby Petito never goes outside.
In late August, their posts slowed down, and so did communication.
They seem to have an adoring relationship, judging by these lovey-dovey images.
I loved hearing about where she was. She would send me pictures every day of these beautiful places. I mean, it looked like a fairy tale.
The fiancé reportedly returned with the camper van, but no Gabby.
Parents of a missing woman from Long Island need help finding her.
She was on a cross-country trip when communication suddenly shut down.
22-year-old Gabrielle Petito was reported missing over the weekend. Her last location is believed to have been in Wyoming.
A witness reported a physical altercation between the couple August 12th. Their van was then stopped for a welfare check.
New body cam video was released today showing the missing Long Island native's encounter with police a few weeks before she vanished.
Body camera footage in Utah shows Gabby crying in her van at the side of the road outside Arches National Park during an emotional interview with Moab police.
You're 22, right? So I'm choosing not to cite you today. So you are not going to be charged with it. All right? But this is what I do have to do. I am separating the two of you tonight.
She said they pushed and shoved one another outside a grocery. Gabby scratched Brian, but told police they were in love and didn't want to press charges. Police concluding it was not a domestic assault, but a mental health crisis.
Laundrie is reportedly not cooperating with authorities and has hired a lawyer.
We don't eat, we don't sleep. We are constantly on social media talking to everyone we can, trying to get leads.
This just in, the FBI saying tonight they do not know the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie.
This evening, police were seen entering Laundrie's home in Northport, Florida. Laundrie is a person of interest in Petito's disappearance.
My friend's life is at stake, and I would really just appreciate it if he would speak up. Even just one little thing gives us a place to start. I want to find my friend.
Gabby's father, Joseph Petito, joined me to make a desperate plea for answers about his daughter's whereabouts. He says he will stop at nothing to find Gabby and bring her home safely. Joe, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, and I'm very glad to meet you, but very sorry for the circumstance.
I appreciate that.
I certainly hope that we find Gabby and that she's okay. Do you have a theory about where she is and what's going